being in the moment and knowing that Spirit is in the midst of us. Spirit is who we are as a center, and it's about expressing that love and that wholeness and that joy. You know, there's some Saturdays when I'm preparing my talk when I really feel like Spirit is speaking to me, and this was one of them, because if there's anyone that has an issue with busyness, it might be me. Um, you know, Spirit says, do you hear what you're saying? Listen carefully, and then come rest in the silence. Come rest in the silence. Colleen has clearly spent some time in the silence, as you could hear from the words that she included in her songs this morning. Here breathing in the one presence. Here singing in my soul, in the warm light, in the healing life, remembering why I am. We are each an expression of the divine. Each one of us has that unique quality of the divine that we are here to share in our own unique way. And, each one of you, I love you dearly because each one of you is unique and wonderful. And sometimes we get so busy that we forget who we are, really. And so it's easy in our culture to think that the more we get done, the more fully we'll be alive. But, with this logic, we're going to find ourselves saying, like our topic this morning, in our next slide, which is hopefully there. And this is exciting. The slide is, there it is. Hurrah. So living everyday wonder, and I'll rest when I'm die. That's the topic for today. So, why do we hide from rest? We go to sleep at night, but why do we hide from rest? Why do we push it and burn the candle at both ends? And one thing that, I've always been able to do is I'm really good at creating long to-do lists that have more things on it than any human being could ever try and do. And this is the shortened version of my to-do list that I go through each week. And then I only pick the things I'm going to actually do this week, which is, so you can see that this is a good one for me. But but that cherished to-do list, it helps me stay organized. And I get lots of those, it keeps me productive. I get lots of those important things done. And I feel that I've done a good day's work, and I can go to sleep at night and rest and know that it's a good day. But, there's one thing, though, that's on that to-do list that too often gets deleted in favor of something more important, and that is rest. And I don't mean, getting enough sleep, although that's important for our physical health. And I don't mean a busy day off. It's a day off when you go racing through the mall to get everything because you want it. You've only got one day to be in Reno and you've got to hit all the stores, right? Or getting the yard work done, and or even a marathon day to see Disneyland in a day. And my children informed me that, Mom, we do not need to see everything today. I want to sit. So, right? So what I mean is, it's time to be without an agenda, just to be, right? Just to be. Our society admires people who are always busy and work hard. You've heard the adage, if you want something done, ask a busy person, right? They'll fit it in. They know how to do that, right? But how do we know what is the best thing to do? What's the best use of our time? How do we find that balance? Glorifying overwork and busyness and saying things like, I'll rest when I'm dead, it's just a prescription to get on that treadmill that keeps us so busy, but we're on a path to nowhere, right? So why do we overwork or underachieve? That's the way some people do. It's a fear that we're not enough. Well, I've got to do more, or, I'll never be enough, so I just won't even try, and then I won't have to be a failure. Another reason is that we want to feel alive, right? In the book by Anne LeClaire, she wrote, Listening Below the Noise, a meditation on the practice of silence. And she said, we live in a culture that perpetuates the belief that when we have a lot to do going on and a lot of excitement, we're really alive. In truth, we are really alive when we are at peace within our own skin, right? When we know who we are. Leslie Goodwin is a CSL minister with New Vision CSL in Phoenix, Arizona. And she points out that we are too busy to heal damaged relationships, have difficult conversations, devote time and energy to the self-reflection that will move us forward in a real way. Why do we hide from rest? Because in rest, we can truly see ourselves. And we're not sure we're ready to deal with what's in there. It's kind of scary. Right? So, what is the case for real rest? Rest is important for the physical body to rejuvenate. Helps us deal with stress. We can maintain healthy relationships and our own mental health. That's really important. And it's essential for the soul to connect with spirit within. Right? To me, that's the most fundamental part of it. Thich Nhat Hanh says, it is very important that we relearn the art of resting and relaxing. Not only does it prevent the onset of many illnesses that develop through chronic tension and worrying, it also allows us to clear our minds, focus, and find creative solutions to problems. Right? If we're busy, always busy, we're just keep doing what we've always done or panicking or something like that. And if we get still, we can allow that divine intuition come into play and help move us forward. And I know Karen's very good at staying calm in the midst of the tech situation going on. So we're so blessed to have her heading up that team. But in the reading that Brenda shared with us this morning, by Wayne Mueller, he calls for going back to the practice of the Sabbath. Regular sustained periods of rest are called for in most of the religions of the world: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Baha'is, and more. But Mueller clarified that he didn't mean this legalistic Sabbath, that they still have laws in 28 states in the U.S. When I was a kid growing up in Maryland, we had blue laws, and you couldn't buy anything on Sunday. You could go to a restaurant, but you couldn't buy, you went to the mall and you could window shop, but that was it, right? You can go to the mall now, but you cannot buy a car. In fact, I think there's almost 28 states in the U.S. where you cannot buy a car on Sunday. A unique issue. But what Mueller is actually advocating for is taking the time to rest, to be still and share life with those that we love, right? He said, let us for just one day cease our desperate striving for more and instead taste the blessings we have already been given and give thanks. Gratitude is so important to feeling whole and healthy. Religious traditions agree on this. God does not want us to be exhausted. God wants us to be happy. And so let us remember the Sabbath. God wants us to be happy because we are a part of God, right? Now, let's turn and look at some of these physical reasons for rest. Herbert Benson, a doctor with the Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital, he created something called the relaxation response, which is a process he has of helping people really relax physically. And it invokes a state of deep rest. Now, in his numerous studies on the benefits of rest and practicing yoga, meditation, and his relaxation response, he's shown that it reduces stress by producing antioxidation and anti-inflammatory changes. It could lower heart rates, blood pressure, oxygen consumption. It alleviates hypertension, arthritis, insomnia, depression, infertility, cancer, and anxiety. All of these are improved by rest. And in fact, it can even affect 40,000 genes that are in our body. There's actually genetic mutation in a positive way that occurs when we rest. Brene Brown, in her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, said, if we want to live a wholehearted life, we have to become intentional about cultivating sleep and play, about letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity is self-worth. In her book, she tells a story about her and her husband. They sat down in 2008, and they wrote down a list of all the things that made their family work. And they were pretty simple things. It's like these are the things that give their lives joy and meaning. So it was sleeping enough, working out, eating healthy, cooking. She loves to cook. Time off, weekends away, going to church, being present with their kids, a sense of control over their money. Right? More than the amount, it was the sense of control. Meaningful work that doesn't necessarily overly consume them. And finally, time with family and friends and time to just hang out. Right? A few years later, they wrote down their dream list. So these tended to be things that were about accomplishments and acquisitions that they wanted. They wanted a bigger house. They had a dream of a trip to this fantastic destination and personal salary goals and personal achievements that they wanted to reach. And all of these things, though, required making and spending more money. And then they compared the two lists. And they found that if the things that they wanted to acquire were not necessary to experience that meaning and joy that they wanted in their lives. And contrarily, if they had enough time for rest and play, that was important to have joy and meaning. So they could give up all the acquisition and have what they really wanted. So they learned to pace themselves and not overcommit themselves with these other things. Brene Brown said, "It takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol." And the person they had to explain it to over and over was their daughter. Because her first reaction was, "Oh, we're going to do less? Well, Mom, all my friends, they're like in 3 sports this quarter. And plus they're taking French and Mandarin. And no, okay, that will be good. But does this mean we have more time for TV? No. It meant we're going to have time for family and resting. All right? So we come to resting in the one, that important part of being in that stillness. There's nothing, this year our theme is living everyday wonder, and there's nothing more wonderful than resting in the one through spiritual practice, right? Ernest Holmes, in a book called Spiritual Practice, he says, "Spiritual experience comes in the stillness of the soul. When the outer voice is quiet, it is a quickening of the inner being to an external reality." We're aligning our inner self with the one. We're aligning our head and our heart with who we truly are. And as we let go of that siren's call to constant motion and overwork, we make room for time to be still. It may take time for our racing thoughts to come to a halt, as Colleen was explaining. We may have to learn to be patient with ourselves, right? And we have to resist the next urge to rush off and do that next important thing that fills our mind with a sense of urgency. But take a little more time to be still, a few more minutes longer. The spiritual benefits of resting and sticking with it are also profound. One of the greatest wonders of this life is that sweet sense of joy and peace that comes with real extended rest. One of the things I learned when I had kids and we would go on vacation, I remember one time we went to camping near the ocean in Marin County, and the first week we were rushing around and doing all these things and getting used to cooking and our menu and whatever. But the second week it was okay just to sit. It took a whole week. I think this is one of the things that my husband's nodding, because he knew this, raising 5 boys. That's why he always took these long vacations. He hasn't quite gotten me to adapt yet, but we're going to try it in June, so we'll see. But we have to remember, though, with that extended time, when we're comfortable being still, we remember who we are. We connect with that divine within us. And we remember that is the most precious thing in life, really, is that time of commune with Spirit. It's like we stop trying to force our bodies and our lives to do what our egos want, and we start listening to the divine within and aligning our attentions and our actions with that divine flow. It's like rowing downstream instead of upstream all the time, right? There's a great app that you can find on your telephone. It's called the Insight Timer. And there's both the free and the premium versions of it. And the options range from a simple timer that it has gongs and bells to help you track where you are in your time and not have to worry about watching the clock and so forth. And then it also has all these complicated things. It has 130,000 free guided meditations, and then you can have more classes and things like on deeper meditation if you want. But some of the topics in the free list are learning to meditate if you're brand new, falling asleep, big issue for a lot of people, right? Coping with anxiety or with stress, grieving. Grieving is an important one that when you go through. I know when I became a widow, it was just, there were days when I just couldn't do anything. And allowing that grieving process to go on is something we need to work through to come to the other side, to find that new person that we are. And that comes through that meditation. There can also be mindfulness at work, building self-esteem or happiness, right? It's all part of it. They have 14,000 professional contributors that are all on there. They're doctors, therapists, university professors, Buddhists, Hindu, New Thought practitioners, every kind. You can find something that matches you. Now, another option is you can come to our practitioner meditation before our service. Our practitioners do a wonderful job of setting the intention and giving us something to ponder as we go into the silence, or sometimes there's music. We also have CSL classes that will teach you how to be in that silence and how to spend that time. In April, we're starting a class on the art and science of spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer. Great class. Now this summer, we're going to have the class Meditation is More Than You Think. So there's at least 8 different ways they have in that class about how to meditate. And they're very different. And chanting is very different than just breathing or observing a candle, different ways. And so you can try out all the different ways and find the ones that resonate for you, right? But what's important is that you take that time to rest and be in that stillness for that spiritual practice and allow that connection to spirit to grow. When we start exercising, we have to build our muscles. And so we need to build our spiritual muscles just the same way. It feels kind of clumsy at first, or when we haven't done it for a while. But when we practice, Spirit is always there waiting for us. With the stillness and spiritual practice, we can open that inner door and listen to that still, small voice of Spirit within us. In that stillness, we open ourselves to the mystical guidance of Spirit. In our Declaration of Principles for the Centers for Spiritual Living, Ernest Holmes said, "We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God." So you don't need to go to a psychic. You don't need to go to a priest. You have that direct connection with Spirit within you. And it's a learning to listen, learning to feel comfortable, right? And this is why living in close contact with Spirit is so important. We listen to that intuition. It requires the silence and quietude. So rest, substantial periods of rest allow us time to listen and connect with our own mystical truth. In the book, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, Ernest Holmes said, "To enter the silence is to quiet our minds and enter that place of non-movement. To be still and know that I am God is to know the sanctuary of one's own consciousness." When we experience time in silence, we experience that palpable truth. It's not something that can be taught. You have to experience to know that we are all one. All is God. All is love. This knowing is beyond our understanding, but you know that you know that you know. It can only be discovered by spending time in stillness. That indwelling Spirit reveals the truth when we open the door. It's always there knocking. Right? we move to that infinite peace of just being, where time and space seem to stand still. There's perfect balance. All of life is one, including us. Peace and joy flow naturally. There's no pushing or pulling, just being. And it's here in that stillness that divine intuition is revealed. It appears as intuition. You know that you know that you know. And there's this deep yes to all that is good. That life is for us. Not against us, but for us. It's here in the stillness that our body and our mind and spirit find rest and wholeness and alignment. Our soul is restored, and we are one with the universe. It empowers us to be a beneficial presence for all we meet. So take some time to rest now. So this week, schedule some time for rest, real rest, and hold it sacred. Nothing could be more important. Anyway, you are worth it. Ernest Holmes, our founder, believed in rest, and he spent lots of time in silence listening to the Spirit every day. And here's a poem that he included at the introduction to the Science of Mind textbook, and I'd like to share it with you to conclude. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is here also. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. So let's take this to prayer. So we are still here, letting go, breathing in and out, moving into that place of rest, of stillness. Let go of the sounds and motions around you. Bless them and turn within. Let go of the thoughts whirling around. Wherever they might go, release them, bless them, and turn within, deeper. There is only the breath. And as the emotions are there, of anger or fear, sadness, even happiness, bless them. Be grateful for the signs that they bring us to of what is going on. But bless them and turn within even deeper to that place where the whole inner world opens up. And here there is wholeness. There is a sense of the presence of God within in our heart of hearts. We are part of the whole universe, one with all that is, with all people, with all things. There is no separation. There is balance. There is infinite peace. This is the level of being one with Spirit. It is the level of bliss. It cannot be contained. It is always here in our heart of hearts. But when we're still, we see it and feel it and know it and experience it and know that all is well. Infinite love is without end. It is deep and wide, surrounding us, enfolding us, welling up within us, flowing out into the world. And there has been an inner shift an evolution in our understanding of who we are, of the meaning of spirit, of being one. I am so grateful to know the truth of who we are, to know the consciousness of peace and love, the oneness that is within the heart of each and every person who is here, who is a part of our center. Each person who is involved with the Ukrainian invasion, regardless of whatever their role is, there is no place where God is not. The divine infinite peace is within each one, guiding each person, including ourselves, to know what is ours to do to manifest a lasting and loving peace built on loving and respecting each man, woman, and child. All resistance to this truth, to this one life, is dissolved as we let go and let God, the infinite invisible, rise up within each person, within ourselves. And so we let go. And that fear just dissolves. And there is this calm reassurance that in time immemorial, there is only love. There is only this divine life. And we know deep abiding peace and love as the light that illuminates the entire universe, healing, guiding, expressing life and goodness. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you. And so the time has come to begin moving back towards the surface. Reluctant to relieve, but we sense that shift in spiritual growth and awareness is permanent. There is now space within our spirit. There is clarity within our understanding. There is wholeheartedness within our body, mind, and spirit. And it is all good. And so consciousness slowly moves back into your body, into the emotions of the goodness and love, into the thoughts, into knowing the wholeness, that blueprint of who we are, and coming back into the physical body. Feel that chair supporting you. Feel the air moving as you breathe in and out. Hear the sounds and feel the movement of the room. Feel that they've been blessed somehow. Feel the presence of the living beings around you here and everywhere on this planet. Feel at peace. Feel well. Know that you are loving and loved, for you are an expression of infinite love. I am so grateful to be here, to be alive, to be a loving presence in the world. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you. It is done. And so it is.